It's Leslie here with YYC Knits. I'm just working out my latest design, and this one here is called Twiggy. It's got a twig stitch raised cable pattern to it, and it comes in 3 different sizes. It's a hat, by the way. Comes in 3 different sizes, children's size, a smaller than children's, which would be fit for a toddler, which is actually this one here, because this one here is too small to fit on my 8-year-old daughter's head. So I would call this a child size, and then, a toddler size. And we'll have the child size, as well as I'm just working on the adult size here as well. So this is made with my own hand-dyed yarn, which is actually Stanley Park, named after a Calgary park, which is Stanley Park. There is one in BC too, but we are talking about Calgary's Stanley Park. And it is a 2-ply fingering weight 100% merino wool. So I'm knitting it here on Haya needles. These are my interchangeable circulars, which actually can be found on my website under YYC Knits. And the size that I'm using here are a US 2. And what I did with this hat, because the ribbing is so stretchy, is I just used a US 2 for the ribbing as well as the pattern, because I just really liked the look and I liked the fabric that it was knitting up. So that's it here. It's Twiggy. It can be found on Ravelry as well as my blog. On Ravelry, I'm at YYC Knits, and on my blog is just through my website, yycknits.com. So let's get started. What I wanted to show you mostly is how to cable without a cable needle. So the thing is if you were to work this pattern basically using a cable needle every time, you wouldn't find it very enjoyable, I'm sure, because there's just a lot of crossing over, a lot of cabling in this pattern. So probably best if you could learn how to cable without a cable needle. And I was really afraid at first, but once you get onto it, it's really quite simple, and you just want to keep a steady hand, and yeah, I think you'll find it pretty easy. So our first cable here we're right up to, and what we're going to do is we are doing a 2-stitch cable. So there's just 2 stitches involved. So you're going to basically cross one over the other, and it's really quite simple. So we're going to cable 2 right here, which means you're going to use 2 stitches all together, and you're going to cable them with a right lean. So you're going to have a right leaning cable. So what you want to do is you want to take both these stitches and slip them from your left hand needle to your right hand needle. And when you see the C2R, R means rear, so you're going to pick up that stitch from the rear or from the back or behind, okay? So think R is rear, and all you're going to do is you're going to slip that first stitch off, but slip it right back on again. So ultimately, you are crossing those 2 stitches as if you had that left hand stitch held behind on a cable needle, but you actually didn't. You just crossed them just like so. So pretty tricky. The only other difference in this cable and other cables is the outside stitch is actually a slip stitch, and that's what makes it stand up and makes this pretty pattern stick out in three-dimensional form for you. So this outside stitch is actually slipped, so being it's already done for you, it's on that needle, it's slipped, I'm not going to knit it, I'm just going to slip my needle into that second stitch and knit it. So that's your C2R in this pattern. Basically after that you're going to knit one, and I'm just looking at my cable chart right now, so nothing that you shouldn't know. So I'm going to knit one, so I knit it here, and oh sorry, here. So here's my right lean, here's my knit one, here is where I'm going to do my left leaning increase. So again, it's a C2L, which means I'm going to cable 2 to the left. So what I am going to do is put both those stitches onto my right hand needle from my left. I'm going to go into the front of this stitch, and I'm going to slip this stitch off but right back on again. So I've just held that stitch to the front. Then I'm going to put that stitch back on the needle, knit it, because that's the inside. The outside stitch is the slipped stitch, so it just gets slipped. And that is a C2L. So basically I've done them both. I have 2 knit stitches according to my chart between those left leans, and we are on, I believe, round 6 of the chart. So we have another left, not increase, I'm sorry, I think I said increase and I meant cable. So we have another C2L cable, so I'm going to slip those 2 stitches on. I'm going to do that C2L again. So being it's the L, there's no R, so left means you insert that needle into the front of that stitch, pull your needle out, but slip it right back into that stitch again, not letting that stitch go very far at all. We're going to cross that, put it back on the needle, knit that stitch, and slip the next one. So that's again our C2L. There's 2 of them kind of there in a row on this round. I'll show you one more time the C2R. So I've got 4 stitches between the last left lean and the next right lean. So if I want to read my knitting, I can tell that this stitch here, this second stitch on my left needle, is a slip stitch because they're sticky outy. Okay, so I can read my knitting and go, yeah, that's where my C2R is going to be, because you will see we want it to lean to the right. So we're going to slip these 2 stitches. C2R means rear, so we're going to go in behind this second stitch here, right like that. We're going to go in from the rear. We're going to just gently pull our needle out, but put this one right back on again, so we're not going to let it go far. It's already slipped, so we're just going to knit that second stitch. And that is our right leaning increase. It might look a little funny right now, but once you get down a few rows, it turns out beautifully. So yeah, every second round of our chart is just knit. So when you do get to these crossovers or these cables, you just kind of want to make sure that these stitches are separated enough so that you can knit each one of them separately. So that is it for cabling without a cable needle. Again, this pattern will be up on my blog. It'll be up on Ravelry with a link to my blog so you can check it out. It's called Twiggy, and happy knitting, everyone.